Hello peeps, so welcome to the channel. I'm not going to blabber on too much, we'll get straight on with it because it's quite a long video with TeknoParrat, because TeknoParrat is officially a dick. So I've already got all my games copied over here. They're in the Retrobat folder, ROMs, and obviously TeknoParrat. Now as you can see, all my games are in my folder. They're all copied in without any extension. So let's load up Retrobat and see if they work. We'll go straight down to TeknoParrat. And as you can see, there's loads of files in here, but none of them are the actual games. Well, there probably are the games mixed in with them. There's a reason for this. TeknoParrat needs an extension on the folders. Now it can be more than one. You can either put .teknoparrat, .parrot, or .game. Also, I believe the zip files, 7-zip and zip and raw, I believe they work as well. My folders aren't zipped up, so I can't be 100% on that. So obviously you can go into your ROMs folder and put one of them extensions after it, like .teknoparrat or .parrot or .game, or you can use the advanced renamer, which I'm going to show you how to do now, which is the easiest way. So if you go on Google and type in advanced renamer, then if you make sure it's this one here, the advancedrenamer.com, download it. Now you can download it as a zip file, or you can download it as the installer or uninstaller program. I go along with the installer program. Now when this is changed to now, your downloads are up in the top corner here on the blue arrow. So if you click this, you'll see your downloads, and we're going to click on the setup file here. Obviously choose whichever language you want. Read all this garbage and click I accept the agreement. Then choose where you want to install it. I'm going to go with the program files as set on your C drive. Now I've used this advanced renamer for loads of different stuff. It's a really good little program. It's free. You can pay for a license for it, but I recommend it for loads of different stuff. I use it for renaming music and also loads of different files on my ROMs. I'm going to create a desktop shortcut. So now there's all these different methods down at the bottom left hand corner. You can basically do all sorts of different stuff. You can remove if there's certain files that you've got that have got something written on the end that you don't want, you can remove them. There's all different like formulas what you can add into it, and it'll remove and add stuff and replace stuff and whatever else you might want to do with it. So now in this case we want to add, and I'm going to go into my Retrobat drive. I'm going to go into where my ROMs are. I'm going to scroll down to my TeknoParrat folder. And I'm going to highlight all my games, and I'm obviously going to click on the videos and images folder because I don't want them going in there. Now we just drag all them over into the program. Make sure it's just written on add the folders. You don't want to add the files in the folders and add subfolders, just add the folders is fine. Click OK. You'll see all the games are here now. And what you've got is your folder name and the new folder name. So whatever you're going to do, it's going to show you before you actually put it into place. It will show you what your folder names are going to be called. So obviously we want add. We're going to put in .game. Now as you can see, when I do it, it puts it right at the very start of the title. And that's because this @ index is set to 1. So it's the very first point. So if we come up and change that to a 2, you'll see that it's put it at the second point now. It's got one letter before where it's actually added the .game. Same again, just for reference, we'll put 4 in there and it's put it as the 4th point of the title. So just to be on the safe side, I'm going to put .300 in, because no game title is going to have 300 characters long. So then it's going to put it at the end of the game title. If you're looking where it says new folder name here, you'll see it's put the .game at the end of every single game. Now if we go up to the start batch, it's telling us here methods 1, so it's just doing one equation, which is adding the .game to the folders, and then it's telling us it's going to do it to 68 folders. Click start. Now as you can see in my TeknoParrat ROMs folder, it's changed them all and added the .game. Just does it loads quicker. I mean, you can rename them back to yourself, but obviously that is so much quicker just doing that. So we'll shut down the advanced renamer. We're going to load up Retrobat again. Now as we come into his TeknoParrat folder, you'll see that there's all the games are here. Odd few are missing a bit of artwork, but all the games are listed. So now when you first install Retrobat, when you go to load a game, it will say that the emulator is not installed. So you have to manually download this one. A lot of them you can download through Retrobat. This doesn't work. So again in Google, type in TeknoParrat, and you want to come down to the one that says download TeknoParrat. And we're going to download the TP Bootstrapper web installer for TeknoParrat. Again, it's put it up in the top right hand corner. So we'll go in here, right click, go down to show in folder. Now this is a zip file, so it needs unzipping. So I'm going to 7-zip, right click, 7-zip, extract archive. We're going to extract it to the folder. Then the actual program's inside here. Double click the TP Bootstrapper folder, click yes. Now when it populates all this up on the left hand side, it's telling you obviously what you haven't got installed and what's recommended. So then we're going to click on browse, we're going to choose where we want to put it. Now obviously we want to put this inside as a Retrobat folder. So we're going to go into his Retrobat drive, Retrobat, emulators, TeknoParrat, and then we're going to select this folder here, and it's going to put it straight into Retrobat. Click full install and let it do its thing. So now I'm going to load my folder up with all my games in on the right hand side, just so I know which games I've got basically. And then I'm going to boot up the TeknoParrat emulator. When you first go to use it, it's going to say that it's your first time, just click OK. Now it's going to say you have no games, you want to add one, you can do that if you want, or you can just click no like I do here, and then I'm going to update TeknoParrat before I add some games. So up in the top left hand corner you'll see the burger, click this, come down to install updates, click the update as they're all ticked, so it's going to do all 4 of them at once. And then we're fully updated. Return to library. It's going to ask you game, same again. I click no here, but you can click yes if you want, because I end up just clicking it straight away anyway. But you can come in here, you can have a look at your settings. There's all your different TeknoParrat settings here. I think you could add steering wheels and stuff like that in there. But we'll go ahead and add a game. Now it's going to give me a full list of the games on the left hand side what TeknoParrat supports. Now I haven't got them all, that's why I wanted the folder on the right hand side, so I was making sure I was adding a game that I've already got. So we're going to go ahead and install Afterburner Climax. So we'll click the add game, it's here. Now if we go into the game settings, where it says game executable here, this is where it's going to look to find the game. Now obviously I haven't chose where to put it, but I'll show you a quick tip that works with some games. It doesn't work with them all, because basically some of these files aren't executable files. They're little files that you wouldn't think could be the game. TeknoParrat reads them, but they're not an actual program or any executable file in any way. They're just a little file, but the emulator looks at that little file and not a program. So if we go into the Afterburner Climax here, if you see the ABC 1080p, that's the file it's going to look for. Sometimes it might be in these other folders, you know, if you don't know where the actual file is or the executable file is, it can be a little bit of a pain in the arse for you. So I'm just going to quickly show you this little tip. So now we'll load Retrobat up, come into his TeknoParrat folder, we'll click on Afterburner Climax. Now Retrobat is going to tell TeknoParrat where to look for the game, so we don't physically have to add it in there, because Retrobat sort of does it for you. Now if we come back out and we reload TeknoParrat back up, go into the game settings bit, highlight Afterburner Climax, and you can see here now that it's actually put the file in automatically through Retrobat. Now I'm not sure whether this works every time. It might throw a couple issues up where it doesn't find it. So if Retrobat doesn't do it, you're then going to need to know the name of the file that actually runs the game and put it in manually, which I will show you in a short while. Firstly, we'll look at the settings. Now as you see here, you can change some of your sensitivity. Sometimes on certain games you can change the resolution. You can hide the cursor, which is obviously really good in the shooting games because you don't want your mouse following your crosshair about. Also some games might require to run in winded mode. But now we'll have a quick look at setting up a controller. You can do this individual for all different games, because obviously some games might only need 3 buttons, some games might need 6 buttons. So with the game highlighted, we'll go down to controller settings. Now these are all the different keys that you could use in the game. So I use an Xbox 360 joystick. All you're going to do is left click on the one that you want to alter and then press it on the controller and it will recognise it. Some games you might need this test service to get you into the actual console. Sometimes you don't need them. But I always recommend, if you do actually need the test or service and to go in and change some settings, always come back in here and remove them, because it can be a real pain in the arse when you're playing the game. If you press that button by mistake and it shoots that menu up, it's going to reset your game basically. A lot of the games are set on free play, some games aren't. So with the Coin one, you'll have to assign a button to it. I believe in this case that Afterburner is set to free play. Start button will obviously put as a start. Joystick analog X and Y, if you move your controller left and right and up and down on them, it will add them as they are. You don't need the up, down, left and right digital, because you've obviously just done it on your analog, and then you can use your throttle, your gun trigger, your missile trigger and your climax switch, which I haven't got a clue what it is. Just choose whichever button it is, personal preference here. Now as you can see, we'll load the game up and we've got full control in the game. So now another thing to mention, while you've got your TeknoParrat folder open, you'll see this folder here that's called Game Profiles. Now basically this isn't the games that you've got, this is a list of every single game that TeknoParrat supports, and it's also telling you what it's looking for and also the main thing, where it's looking for it. So if this folder here is telling it to look for a game that you've got labelled different to what it's telling it to look for, then it ain't going to work. It's got to say exactly the same as it says inside. So if you're getting an issue where you're trying to load a game and it's saying it can't find it on TeknoParrat, this will probably be the reason why. And now they're not all called exactly what the game's called. So obviously I'm going to do, as an example, we're going to look at the Afterburner, what we've just been using. And the actual game file is called ABC, not Afterburner Climax. So sometimes you might be looking for your game and it won't be in alphabetical order, it might be somewhere else. So now if we go to the game profile of the ABC folder, right click it and click edit, it's going to bring up the file that you need to edit. Now here I've obviously already done it, so where it says game name, the actual file is looking for the game Afterburner Climax. Now sometimes this isn't the case, sometimes this might be set to as it was in the file, the actual file of it, it might just be called ABC here, so it's looking for the folder ABC. And if yours is called Afterburner Climax, it obviously isn't going to find it. So if you're having an issue with a game that isn't being found when you go to load it, this is probably what's causing it. So if you click and then click again on your actual folder, right click, copy, you're going to copy the text over. Now if you highlight the game title, what it's called in here, just make sure it's all highlighted. Right click it and then paste, it's obviously going to copy that in. Then save it. It doesn't matter which way round you do it, you can call your folders whatever it says in there, or you can do it vice versa, as long as they're both saying the exact same thing. So now we'll add a few more games to have a play about with, show you a few different issues that you might run into. So now I'm going to show you an instance where the game's called something different to the actual file what it's looking for. So we'll try this Akai Katana, or however you want to pronounce it, and as you can see here, it's going to say unable to find game file. Profile, make sure that it's named the same. We'll come back out of TeknoParrat. We're going to edit the game profile for the Akai Katana game, and then we'll come into a TeknoParrat ROMs folder, and as you can see, my folder is called Akai Katana Shin. So now in the game profile, what we're editing, you can see that it says Akai Katana Shin, and then it says for Netica Live. Now this is why it's not finding the game, because it's called something totally different to mine, so we need it to be the same. Now the .game, you don't need to copy out, you leave that out. You basically just need to copy the text before the .game. So we're going to left click our game and do it twice, so it puts the blue highlight up. We're going to just highlight the game, disregarding the .game. Right click, copy. Then we're going to highlight the full game title in the game profile, and we're going to right click and paste it in, and then we're going to save it. We'll boot back up into Retrobat, and as you can see here now, it loads up. So we'll boot TeknoParrat back up. Now if we have a quick look at the Akai Katana, basically it didn't have any controls when it loaded up. Also you'll see the game executable has been added now. I'm using Xbox joystick, so I'm going to change the game input API. If it's not already on X input, we're going to change that to X input. Save settings. Now we're going to go down to the controller setup. Again, left click whichever button you want to alter, press whichever button you want to assign to it on your controller, and then save settings once you've done. Now we'll boot back into Retrobat, load the game back up, and as you can see now, I've got full control in the game. And this game is absolutely mental. I don't know how anybody can play it. There's just too much going on screen at once for me. So now I'll show you how to set the controllers up for the light gun shooting games. Now most of your games need to be set on raw input for the shooting light gun games. You can see here you've got a few more options. You can change the resolution, you can have a look at that if you've got a bit of a bigger monitor. Also the hide cursor options ticked here, that's what you want for all your shooting games basically. I'm going to show on a game in a little while where I load the game up and the cursor's not hidden and you'll see it moving about with the crosshair. And also with this here you can put cheats in if you want to. We'll go back so we didn't change anything. We'll come into the controller setup. Now where it says player 1 light gun, this is what you're going to use to control. So obviously we're going to use our mouse, which is the Microsoft USB optical mouse. Trigger, I want left mouse button. Special, I'm going to go with middle button. Flame, I'm going to use with my right button. And the start button, I'm going to set to enter. Again, this is all personal preference. Save your settings, launch the game. And now we've got controls. So we'll plug in as Mayflash Dolphin Bar. If you haven't got a Mayflash Dolphin Bar, you can use your Wii remote for the shooters. Now what I've found with these, when you press your shoot button, it actually freezes the crosshair for some reason for like a split second. And for me, it makes them really unplayable. I'm sure I played it before where it didn't used to do it. If you're playing a game where you just got to hold your shoot button on, it's fine because obviously after that split second you can just move it about. If you're playing a game where you've got to reload, it can be a real pain in the arse. I don't know whether it's because it's an updated version of TeknoParrat, I have no idea, but I don't like using the Wii remotes on TeknoParrat. Real shame to be fair. So in the game settings again, this needs to be set to raw input. We're on that, so we'll go into the controller setup. Now where it says your light gun, and click that and you'll see it's added the Mayflash Dolphin Bar here. Each one will have a different number after it, which is where TeknoParrat for me falls on its horse a bit. Basically I can set all the games up with a mouse on one computer and then I'll use it on a different computer, and because the mouse is a different brand, it basically looks at it as a different control, so it won't work. So I can set all these games up for Dolphin Bar, for keyboard, for whatever else, and then you plug it into a different computer. You'll just have to come and configure it yourself anyway. Not always the case on all the games. Obviously with the Xbox controller games that's fine, but with these shooting games it tends to read the keyboards and the mice as different controllers. So for the start button I'm going to use the 1 button on the Wii remote, which is also classed as page up. The trigger button I'm going to use the trigger under the Wii remote. The special button I'm going to use is the down button on the D-pad, and then the flame button I'm going to use the A button. Again, I'm not going to say it anymore because it's pissing me off me saying it myself. Personal preference. Now we'll launch the game. As you can see, we've got controls. This is with my Wii remote. I'm going to try and show you now. When I first start shooting, the crosshair actually freezes just for like a split second or so. Yeah, look, when I'm shooting, I don't know where you'll pick it up on the video, but it's so awkward to move about when you've got to try and quickly target something else. So for me, the mouse wins hands down on this. So now we're going to outrun. As you can see, I'll try and launch the game and it'll say the game location is not set, please set it. We'll click the game settings. Now I automatically know this game executable because I've installed it so many times. But if you don't know it, this is where you're going to see where it can be awkward to find the file name and it's not necessarily an executable file. So we'll click here where it says game executable, and now we're going to browse and find the file that it's looking for. So we're going to come into his Retrobat drive, Retrobat folder, ROMs, and down to TeknoParrat. And then we're going to scroll down and find the Outrun 2 game. We'll double click it. And none of these files here are the actual game, so we'll go into the OR2G folder. Then disk 0. Then Jennifer. Now as you scroll down here, all the files that say Jennifer in front of them, 2,666 kilobytes, they're all a version of the game. So if you do this and you find one file doesn't work, you can try the other ones. Some are patched, some are VGA, some might run better than others, some might look better than others. But for this, I'm just going to click on the Jennifer. So like I said, if you don't know what the file's called, what you're looking for, you're going to be screwed here. You're going to have to Google it or hope that Retrobat can find it like it did with the one that I showed you. So the game executable now is showing here. Change it to X input. We'll have a quick look at a couple of the other settings after. We'll go and control the setup. Again, just left click on each one and choose what you want. With the wheel axis, if you just push left or right on your thumbstick, it'll automatically work. We'll save settings and then we're going to launch the game. And we have full control. So it looks pretty blocky. It doesn't look very pretty. So we're going to change the resolution up to 1920 with 1080. So game settings. We're going to change this width and height here. 1920. And then we're going to change the height to 1080. We'll save settings. We'll boot the game back up. Now it looks a lot crisper. But now I also notice it seems really twitchy on the steering. So now we'll go in and change the sensitivity, see if that alters. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. The game settings. This one here you don't need to mess about with, that's your pedal sensitivity. We want the wheel sensitivity. So I'm going to drop that down to 1. Save settings, we'll launch the game again. And as I first start playing it here, it seems like it's done it. It feels like really slow to be fair. I thought I was going to need to put it up, but then when I picked up speed, it obviously still seemed a little bit twitchy, but fully playable. It's not bad at all. Sega Golden Gun again. This is another shooting game, so we'll come to his game settings. Now, if we have a look where it says game executable, this is actually telling you what file it's going to look for. It doesn't do it with all the games, but if you don't know what you're looking for, it's basically telling you which file it needs to load it. So now if we click on it, we'll go back up because it's still be in the Outrun folder. We're going to go down to Sega Golden Gun, or sometimes yours might just be called Golden Gun. It totally depends. So now it's looking for the Ring Gun Ring Wide exe file. We'll open the folder and I know it's in the exe folder inside. So we'll double click the exe folder, click on the actual file it's looking for, which is the Ring Wide exe, and then click open. Save your settings. We'll go into his controller setup. Again, raw input. Set it up how you want it. I'm not going to use the Wii remote. I'm going to go straight onto the mouse for this one. We'll launch the game. Now, as you can see, when I go to launch the game, I did this on purpose. It's in windowed mode. Now, obviously, sometimes you need a game to be in windowed mode. 9 times out of 10, you don't. So we'll come back out, go into game settings, and where it says general windowed, we're going to untick this. Save settings. Launch the game, load it back up, full screen. But as I was saying earlier on here, you can see the cursor and it's a miles away from where the crosshair is, so you don't want to be playing it with that. So we'll exit the game again, game settings, and where it says hide cursor, we're going to tick it. And we'll save settings again, and we'll launch the game and the cursor's not there. So while we're in here, I'm going to show you one game that needs to be set on windowed mode. And also this can't be run through Retrobat either. So we're going to add the game and we're going to add Operation Ghost. Again with this one, it's automatically telling you what file it needs to run. And this time it's banging the opening directory of the folder. Click open. Now where it says windowed, I'm going to turn that off. Obviously 9 times out of 10 you want to play it with full screen, but with this game it doesn't work. We'll save the settings. Also with this game, with the controller setup, no matter what you seem to do in here, it doesn't work in the game. It's got like a preset configuration embedded into it, so you have to use what controls are in. So we're going to leave all this as empty. We'll launch the game up. Now as it's in full screen mode and not windowed, you can see it's squashed up to the top and you get all sorts of crazy shit going on, but it's putting like ghost trails behind the crosshair. Come back out, we're going to game settings. We're now going to put it into windowed mode, and we'll save the settings and we'll launch it. So I'll stick the controls on the screen. Control and function one together, add credits. Return starts your game, and space is your action button for scanning and stuff. So now we'll have a look at the game settings, and we're going to put the hide cursor on because I didn't do that before. And I'm going to show you it doesn't work in the Retrobat. The game is set to windowed mode on TeknoParrat. We'll have a quick look just to make sure windowed mode's ticked. Then we're going to load up Retrobat. Now when you load up Retrobat, you want to make sure when using TeknoParrat through Retrobat, you press your back button, go down to advanced system options, and make sure that your auto configure controllers is set to off. You do not want this on at all. And also your video mode in here is obviously what monitor you're using. Auto usually works, but you can change it in there to your monitor. We'll come down to Operation Ghost. We'll go to load it. So now it's done exactly the same as what it did when it was in full screen mode before. So we'll go to the TeknoParrat emulator again, but as we do, we're going to do it through Retrobat. So if you come up to Retrobat, scroll up to TeknoParrat, the emulator. You can do it from within here. I was doing it on Windows because it's a bit easier and quicker. But if you do have issues and you need to come and configure your joysticks, you can just do it through here. So if we click on Operation Ghost, click Game Settings, you'll see for some reason Retrobat turns it off and puts it back onto full screen mode. I've had a quick play about. There's probably a fix for it out there. I had a quick look myself, I had a quick look at the configuration file and tried to change a few bits and bobs in there, but I couldn't get it working. No matter what I did, every time I tried to load it through Retrobat, it turns it back into full screen mode. So basically, like I said, this is a few little errors you're going to run into more with TeknoParrat, I guess. They are solvable. A lot of times you can come into this menu here and do them yourself. But hopefully this gives you a good start to sort of solving your own little problems that you might have. But like I said, TeknoParrat can be a real pain in the arse, to be fair. But once it's up and running, there's some really good games on it and they're really, really playable. And now we'll take a look at some games running on it.
Get ready, fight!
Fight 3! Ready? Go! Yeah! Hi!
Yattei!
Yeah! Hi!
マリオアイテム発射。いよいよファイナルラップ突入。残すところあと1周です。マリオこのままトップをキープできるか。リードを広げていきます。熾烈なトップ争いを繰り広げています。
Easy right. Checkpoint. Long medium right. Easy left. Change up. Right. Easy left. Easy right.
Oh, that hurt. Get back, you bastard. Stop shooting at me. You've took me eye out. So when we come to load up the GTI Club, even though I've configured the controls, the back button that I've selected to put coins in doesn't work. So if we come back to the control settings in TeknoParrat, this is where you're going to have to use your test and service mode. So we'll set some buttons up for them. And for now, I'm just going to use my left and right shoulder button. And once I've configured it, I'll come back in here and remove them. Now when we load it back up, we're going to press the service button. And to control it, use your D-pad and your keyboard. After you click on the game options, you can change all sorts of options in here, like all your difficulty level and your mile per hour to kilometers per hour or whatever else you want to use. And click on exit. And then we'll go to the coin options, and where it says free play, not free, we're going to change that to free play. Save and exit. Click on the game mode, and now when it goes back, we won't have to put the coins in. You'll only have to do this one time. Next time you come to load it up, it'll automatically be configured.
Time extended. Oh, you're way behind. Just a little bit more. Slipstream, checkpoint. Time extended. You've done it. Yeah. Woo! Slipstream. Oh, checkpoint. Time extended.
So that's another one chalked off. And like I said on the video, once you've got it up and running, TeknoParrat's really good. There's some great games on there. It can just be a little bit awkward to get running. No, I'm no expert on it. This is just how the games that I've got running and what I've done to get them running. I've got a lot of bigger collection, but there's a lot of games that I can't get running on it. And the main problem for me, if I'm setting TeknoParrat up somebody, as I showed you in the video, if I go and alter all the controls, then somebody else gets the drive, they go to load TeknoParrat up, and none of the controls will work on the shooting games and stuff, which is one issue. Also, obviously if I set it up on my computer and the drive is mapped as the D drive, then I go to use that on a different computer and it uses it as the E drive, then none of the games are going to work, because all the game profile files are going to be looking for the game on the E drive. But hopefully this video has helped a few people out. You might already have a system with TeknoParrat set up where a certain game doesn't work, and I've just showed you a fix for it, you never know. And plus it gives you like a brief idea of how to go about it. So if you did take anything from the videos and you're new here, I'd really appreciate a like and some subscribe on the video. It's really helped me out. It's taken me a million years to get to 1,000 subscribers, so I'd really appreciate that. Also, for those who have already subscribed, I'm going to apologise in advance because I'm going to spam a load of videos. Now, the videos that I'm going to spam are basically the individual systems where I want to use them as a reference for my master's build in the end. So basically, if anybody says, you know, what games are in your PlayStation 2 collection or whatever, I can just link them to the video, they can have a look. What I don't want to do is get to the end of this series and upload like 100 system videos in one go and just spam them and piss people off and, you know, get people unsubscribed because they're pissed off with seeing the same sort of stuff. So that's me just explaining what I'll be doing over the next few days. And then for my next proper video, I might do another arcade system, maybe Model 2 or MAME or FB Neo, I don't know yet. I sort of, this is just, I do it as I go along. I'll wake up in the morning and think, right, I'm going to do this system. But anyway, thanks for watching. Until next time, peeps.